A tense shootout erupts between the police and four armed bank robbers, while two others inside keep watch over the terrified hostages pleading for their release. Outgunned and outnumbered, several officers fall in the line of duty. Fortunately, a SWAT team arrives to take control of the situation. Four operatives, including Jim and Brian, rappel from a helicopter onto the bank's roof, using tactical cameras to locate a secure entry point. Once inside, they confirm the area is clear before moving forward. Snipers take position, while ground units surround the building. As one of the robbers attempts to prepare a getaway car, a sniper takes him down instantly. Panic sets in among the remaining criminals, leading one to fire wildly at the SWAT team only to be swiftly neutralized. The last two robbers, realizing they are cornered, hesitate. Negotiators establish contact, aiming to secure the hostages' release. Inside, SWAT officer Velasco orders his team to wait for further instructions. However, Brian, sensing an opportunity, disregards the command and forces Jim to cover him. To prove their seriousness, one of the robbers threatens to execute a hostage. With his line of fire blocked, Brian is forced to take a risky shot hitting the hostage's shoulder to ensure the robber's demise. Jim eliminates the final criminal, but the wounded hostage screams in pain. With the situation under control, Jim immediately calls for medical assistance while reprimanding Brian for his reckless decision. Later, at SWAT headquarters, Captain Fuller harshly scolds Jim and Brian for disobeying orders, especially since the injured hostage is now suing for damages. As a consequence, both officers are dismissed from SWAT. However, Velasco urges the captain to reconsider. Acknowledging their past contributions, Fuller opts to demote them instead, reassigning them to the armory, the lowest-ranking post in the unit. Feeling humiliated, Brian lashes out at Fuller, accusing him of not understanding the reality on the ground, before quitting the force altogether. As he storms off to the locker room, Fuller advises Jim not to follow Brian's reckless path, promising that if he remains disciplined, he won't be stuck in the armory forever. Not long after, Jim finds Brian in the locker room, already set on leaving the force for good. Jim confronts him, voicing his disapproval and criticizing his reckless choices. Frustrated by his longtime partner's words, Brian shoves Jim into a mirror before storming out. 6 months pass. Despite being stuck in the armory, Jim keeps training, refusing to follow Captain Fuller's advice. One day, senior SWAT officer Hondo visits the armory to repair his rifle, triggering Jim's memories of his former position. Afterward, Hondo meets with Velasco to discuss the declining public perception of law enforcement, which has prompted the police chief to order a division overhaul. Velasco entrusts Hondo with assembling a new SWAT team, selecting TJ and Michael as 2 of its members while allowing him to choose the remaining 3. Meanwhile, Jim returns home to find his girlfriend packing. She admits she no longer wants to stay, feeling their relationship has lost its harmony. Though heartbroken, Jim lets her go without resistance. The next day at the armory, Jim notices a colleague about to discard a breaching tool called the City Key. He quickly intervenes, explaining its rare but crucial use in tactical operations. Many officers have forgotten about it due to its infrequent deployment. As Jim demonstrates its function, Hondo watches, impressed by his extensive knowledge of weaponry. When Jim hands over Hondo's repaired rifle, he receives further praise for his skills. Later, at the shooting range, Hondo trains with his team, where TJ manages to outshoot him. Amused, Hondo raises the stakes, betting $200 that TJ can't beat Jim, the armory guy. When the challenge unfolds, Jim unexpectedly emerges victorious, shocking everyone except Hondo. Meanwhile, in a separate storyline, a notorious French drug lord named Alex arrives in America. At the airport, security finds a small knife on him and attempts to confiscate it, but Alex claims it's a family heirloom. Strangely, the officer returns it without issue. After reuniting with his men, Alex inspects his fake passport before heading to a restaurant to meet his uncle, who is startled by his presence. However, Alex is already aware that his uncle has been embezzling from his late father's drug empire. Without hesitation, he asserts dominance by killing him with the very knife that was returned to him earlier. As Alex leaves the restaurant, the police pull him over for a broken taillight. He claims the car belongs to his uncle, but since his uncle is already a wanted man, Alex is taken into custody despite his attempt to bribe the officer. The next day, Hondo assigns Jim to drive him around, explaining that he's looking to recruit 3 more officers for his new SWAT team. During their rounds, they spot an officer named Donnie chasing down a suspect. Jim instinctively jumps in to help, and after a long pursuit through multiple alleys, they finally subdue the criminal. However, Donnie is frustrated, insisting she could have handled it alone. Impressed by her determination, Hondo immediately offers her a spot on the team, which she accepts. Needing 2 more recruits, Hondo evaluates another officer but rejects him for being too soft. He then moves on to Chris, an officer notorious for her aggressive approach toward criminals evident from the battered suspect she just arrested. Despite past rejections due to her gender, Hondo values her skills and adds her to the team. Back at the armory, Jim realizes Hondo still needs 1 more recruit. Before offering him the position, Hondo questions Jim about the rumors that led to his demotion. Jim insists he never betrayed anyone, pointing out that if he had, he wouldn't have spent 6 months in the lowest-ranking division of the police force. Satisfied, Hondo welcomes him aboard, though Jim doubts Captain Fuller will approve. With all 5 recruits chosen, Fuller immediately objects to Chris and Jim joining the team, leading to a heated debate with Hondo. Unwilling to compromise on his lineup, Hondo forces Fuller to put the entire team through a trial assessment before making a final decision. The next day, as the new squad assembles for their first test, tensions rise when Jim's ex-girlfriend is revealed to be Michael's sister. A brief argument erupts, but Jim clarifies that their breakup was her decision. When the assessment begins, it quickly becomes evident that the team lacks coordination, struggling through their first tactical raid simulation. Over time, the team's coordination improves. On the final day of testing, they must rescue hostages from a hijacked plane. Hondo hopes they can complete the simulation faster than the previous SWAT team's record. Using paintball guns, Jim suggests infiltrating through the food supply hatch to catch the 6 hijackers off guard. Since the passage is narrow, he recommends Chris take the lead, which Hondo approves. Once the plane is surrounded, the 5 officers split up to begin the raid while others identify and neutralize explosives. With the traps cleared and everyone in position, they systematically take down the hijackers, though TJ gets hit in the process. Despite their record-breaking success, Fuller seems irritated, while Hondo is proud of his new squad. That night, the team celebrates at a cafe, though Hondo keeps an eye on TJ's injury. After the gathering, Jim and Chris head to a bar where Jim unexpectedly runs into Brian, who now has a completely different look. The 2 former partners argue about betrayal, and Jim ultimately walks away. Frustrated, Brian smashes an old photo of them together. Before parting ways, Chris invites Jim to her daughter's birthday party, and he agrees to come. Meanwhile, Alex consults his lawyer about bribing officials to secure his release, but the lawyer firmly refuses. The next day, the 5 team members enjoy their time off. Jim attends Chris's daughter's lively birthday celebration, but their break is cut short by an emergency call about a hostage situation. Following orders, they respond immediately. Since the doors are rigged with explosives, Jim suggests using the tactical breaching tool. The suspect, caught off guard by their unexpected entry point, is swiftly neutralized without casualties. Meanwhile, at the police station, officers uncover multiple false identities linked to Alex and immediately report their findings to SWAT. Velasco, upon receiving the update, coordinates with Hondo's team to escort Alex to a maximum security prison. However, before S.W.A.T arrives, Alex's men disguised as police officers ambush the prisoner transport bus. They incapacitate the driver and free Alex. Just as they attempt to escape, Hondo's team arrives, blocking their exit. The disguised officers open fire, forcing S.W.A.T to retaliate, escalating the situation into a chaotic shootout that sends civilians into a panic. As soon as Alex's 2 bodyguards are taken down, he attempts to escape in a police car but is immediately intercepted and recaptured. Detailed reports on Alex's crimes emerge, revealing that he is an international fugitive involved in multiple offenses, including being a top-tier drug lord. During media coverage of his arrest, Alex unexpectedly shouts into the cameras, offering a $100 million reward to anyone who can break him out of prison. News outlets quickly pick up the story, linking the bounty to his family's legendary criminal empire. Unfortunately, the offer catches the attention of various criminal organizations eager to claim the massive reward. Realizing the potential threats, Hondo's team decides to transport Alex by air. The next day, as the helicopter takes off, a sniper fires 2 shots, hitting the engine and causing the aircraft to crash. With their plan failed, the team devises a new strategy, moving Alex by land under extreme security measures. Due to Alex's wealth and charm, he unexpectedly gains a fan base, especially among women, who openly express their desire to be supported by him. During the high-security convoy, as they reach an intersection, a homeless man suddenly crosses the road, revealing itself as a trap. Armed gangs, eager for the $100 million bounty, begin to swarm. A truck rams a police vehicle to block all escape routes, while snipers on rooftops open fire, killing several officers in the ambush. However, when the attackers reach the armored vehicle, they find only a dummy dressed in a prison uniform, exposing the convoy as a decoy. The real Alex is being transported through underground tunnels, then switched to a civilian vehicle. Velasco monitors the team's movement from the air. For a while, Hondo's team encounters no resistance, frustrating Alex, who doubles the bribe offer in desperation. Then, at a red light when aerial surveillance is momentarily blocked, he suddenly turns his weapon on his own team, revealing he has accepted Alex's offer. As his teammates try to talk him down, Jim prepares to act until Brian suddenly appears and shoots Michael, who refuses to comply. It is revealed that Brian orchestrated the entire breakout. He handcuffs Jim inside the car and escapes with Alex through the subway. Shortly after, Hondo's vehicle returns, freeing Jim and providing first aid to the wounded Michael. With Chris staying behind to tend to Michael until paramedics arrive, Jim and Hondo pursue Brian and Alex, while Donnie rushes ahead to the next subway station. After Brian escaped by train, the team at the next station reported that the train never arrived or passed through. Jim and Hondo searched the tracks and found the train had stopped, leaving only terrified passengers and the conductor. The conductor revealed that the criminals escaped through the sewer system, forcing the team to follow despite having no signal. Meanwhile, Captain Fuller, informed about the betrayal within the team, suspected that the entire Hondo team was involved in Alex's escape since none of them could be contacted. When a nearby airport reported suspicious activity with its landing lights, Fuller sent all available units to investigate. Elsewhere, as Hondo's team navigated the tunnels, they were unaware of tripwire traps Brian had set up. TJ protested, warning that the traps could harm civilians, but Brian ignored him. Fortunately, Jim noticed the traps just in time and managed to disarm them. Brian's group emerged at the tunnel's exit, securing the gate with a heavy-duty padlock. When Hondo's team arrived, Jim used the disarmed explosives to blow open the gate. Once their signal was restored, Hondo updated Fuller on the situation and requested transport to continue the pursuit. However, Fuller didn't believe them and ordered them back to headquarters. Realizing they had no time to waste, Hondo ignored the order and commandeered a civilian vehicle to continue the chase. While driving, Chris noticed a private jet flying unusually low over the city, leading Jim to deduce that Alex was being picked up by that plane. Following its flight path, they realized the criminals were using a bridge as a runway, while the airport was a decoy set by Brian. Soon, the jet landed on the bridge, and the criminals rushed aboard, revealing that the jet had been hijacked, with its 2 owners held hostage. As Hondo's team reached the bridge, they were met with explosions set by Brian. But Hondo pushed through. Despite their gunfire, the plane was still preparing for takeoff. As a last resort, Hondo crashed his vehicle into the plane's landing gear, successfully stopping the escape. A fierce shootout erupted, during which Chris was shot in the torso. Amidst the chaos, Alex attempted to flee, but after all his men were neutralized, he was finally captured. Meanwhile, a cornered Brian tried to escape using a hostage as a human shield. Jim, determined not to let the mastermind escape, chased after Brian, who had climbed down beneath the bridge. Meanwhile, Hondo found TJ, who was overcome with regret for his betrayal. Upon learning that Michael had survived, TJ unexpectedly turned the gun on himself and pulled the trigger. Elsewhere, Jim was still searching for Brian, only to be stabbed in the hand by his former teammate before Brian vanished behind a train car. Despite his injury, Jim refused to back down and continued the pursuit, finally catching up and restraining Brian. However, Brian fought back, leading to an intense hand-to-hand combat. As they exchanged blows, a speeding train suddenly approached. In a split-second move, Jim kicked Brian onto the tracks, where he was instantly crushed, bringing his escape to a brutal end. Back on the bridge, Fuller congratulated Hondo's team for preventing the escape, but reminded them that Alex still needed to be transferred. Staying true to their unwavering dedication, the team escorted Alex to the maximum security prison, successfully locking away the infamous drug lord. But just as they were heading home, a report of an armed robbery came through the radio. Without hesitation, despite just finishing a grueling mission, the team geared up and headed straight to the scene.